The seed for Deanna Lawson-Langford's career in health and wellness was planted when she was 10. Deanna was bullied, so her father, a cop, enrolled her in jiu-jitsu. It wasn't long before her tormentor became a friend. Using negative life experiences to make positive decisions became a hallmark of Deanna's character. She went on to fight around the world, but her biggest challenges weren't in combat. When the health of her family was challenged, Deanna knew she wouldn't be able to serve her workplace and home life at the same time. That's when she made the biggest decision of her life. Hello and welcome to the Business Heroes, where we hear the personal journeys of business owners. I'm Craig Colby. I own a storytelling and media production company called Colby Vision. I've spent 30 years in television. And right there, the woman we're going to be talking to today is Deanna Lawson-Langford. She owns a wellness coaching company. Welcome.
Thank you.
So just tell me briefly, what is your business? What do you do?
Absolutely. I run a coaching, speaking, and education business that really helps folks prioritize their wellness and achieve success.
And that seems like a very important thing with everything that's going on in the world right now.
Absolutely, yes.
And it may seem unusual or counterintuitive to people, but you got into this first by getting beaten up and then beating people up. Just tell us a little bit about how that started.
That's a funny way to put it. That's right. When I was about 9 or 10, I was actually being bullied by a person in the neighborhood where I lived, and my dad, who is now retired, but at the time he was a police officer, and he was studying jiu-jitsu, and he said to me, there's this kids class on Saturday mornings where they play some games and they, kind of learn a few things. Would you like to go? And of course, for me, it was tricky because that meant at 10 years old having to give up Saturday morning cartoons. But I did and persevered and really fell in love. Well, to be honest, I liked the games first and the snacks after. But, as it rolled,
That's
I really
usually how
the,
it works.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And sort of the rest, that was the beginning of quite a career in, yes, hitting people.
So before we get into the other stuff, once you learned jiu-jitsu, how did things resolve with the bully?
Well, it's interesting. It's kind of, when I think back about it, it just kind of resolved itself, like organically. Just, I think, as I reflect from my, almost 45-year-old experience back to the 10-year-old, was that, as we know, people that bully are often struggling themselves. And as there was a change in confidence in myself, that just kind of began to roll. And she and I actually became friends.
So you didn't, it didn't lead to physical confrontation,
No. Mm-mm.
but it seems like it brought you the confidence to not be afraid and work it out yourselves.
Mm-hmm. And absolutely, that's what martial arts is all about in and of itself, right? Is really having the confidence, but learning to do things without any kind of actual conflict, right? You're really looking to be confident, but avoid the actual physical. It's not meant to be used for that. That would be a last resort. So.
And so how did your involvement in martial arts evolve?
Well, it started out with the kids class. And as I, again, kind of reflecting back, I realized that I have, some control issues. And I always love to take on a challenge. So as I began to study, I really fell in love with the art itself and the people, and thought, you know what, I'm going to get my black belt, because that at the time seemed to be the highest level thing one could do. Learned later it's not, but that's what it felt like at 10 or 11. And I did. I achieved my black belt by the time I was about 17. And the thing that really connected me or hooked me was the actual competition side of things. So getting in the ring with somebody and having those tournaments that we would, compete against one another, and then a little bit more broadly. And that was really the thing that kind of hooked me and drove me to want to achieve all that I could on the competition side of things.
And how long did you continue that? How long were you fighting for?
About 15 years in total. So that was sort of the martial arts life, I guess one could say, but it was probably about 13 years that I was competing.
And what made you decide to stop competing?
Well, it's interesting. So I had the privilege to actually compete nationally and internationally, and had the opportunity to travel around the world and represent Canada, which was just amazing. And it's in all the different challenges I had in the different rings across the world. Really, it was when I realized that this was starting to take a toll on my health and wellness. That was the thing that began to make me think, maybe this isn't really good for me. So, what I mean by that is it's different now. So, do remember this is sort of the early to mid 90s is kind of when the competition side of things were going on. And there weren't as many women in the sport at the time. So, what that meant was there were not many categories of weight class. So, for people that are familiar with boxing, you probably have heard there's all the different featherweight, lightweight, middleweight, heavyweight, yada, yada, on it goes, right? Well, in terms of what was happening for women at the time, it was you were either 150 pounds and under or 51 and over. And that was it. You had your two categories, and that was all. So when I was competing in jiu-jitsu, I happened to be in the higher weight category, and I had the awesome opportunity to go to a world championships and kind of achieve what I wanted to in the jiu-jitsu space. And then one of the coaches that I had for one of those teams said to me, hey, you know what? I actually offer competition opportunities in the full contact kickboxing space. So that I thought was kind of cool because, to preface the martial arts a little bit, in jiu-jitsu at the time, again, this was pre sort of Brazilian jiu-jitsu here in Canada, and you were punching, you were kicking, you were grabbing, throwing, taking down, and there was a limit of how hard you were allowed to hit at the time. So I'm not sure what this says about me really, but I knew I just kind of wanted to hit as hard as I wanted. Like I wanted to be able to, yeah, there we go. Unfortunately, that's me in the black and white in the one photo, getting punched in the face. But so in the kickboxing space, it was just punching, kicking, because I didn't love the throwing part. And it also had a real variety of weight categories. So, and that probably seems a bit random, but it leads to why I really left the sport. Because if you were booked for a competition, let's say on your Saturday, you were booked within a 10 pound weight category. So you and your fighter were matched pretty closely. So you might be within a couple of pounds of one another. However, there still weren't very many women that were competing. So if that fighter got sick or got hurt that you were scheduled to compete against, the producers were contractually obligated to replace that fighter, and they would. And oftentimes they would choose whoever was available, and that person might be 10 pounds lighter. So what that meant, in 5 days, I had to lose 10 pounds. And so, of course, we know that none of that is going to be healthy. And that led to a lot of, and there were more opportunities for fights at the lighter weight classes. So it really led to disordered eating patterns and, a real toll on my health and wellness. And even though it was something that I liked, I enjoyed, I was pretty good at it. It was something that really became not good for me. And it was the day my family doctor, because of some health issues, he said to me, like, do you ever want to have a family? Do you want to be able to, pursue having kids? And what you're doing is not good for you. And so that was kind of a wake up call, because that was definitely something I knew that, I'd always pictured myself as a mom. So that was definitely something that led me to retire out of the sport, along with some other things. I was time was challenging and finances were challenging and whatnot, because it was an amateur sport.
How old were you at the time?
I was mid-20s, about 25 when I retired.
So you'd been in it a long time. You're starting your career.
Yeah.
And you brought up some really good points there. I've heard more than one athlete, especially competitive fighters, competitive bodybuilders, say, I may look like I'm at my healthiest,
totally,
but I'm not.
Totally.
Not even close.
Yeah.
So what led to, from, being fit and fighting and kind of well, but maybe not really,
Yeah.
to an interest in wellness?
Well, it's funny at the same time. So I mentioned that my dad was really the reason that I got involved in martial arts. Um, my mom, quietly in the background, was very active herself, doing fitness classes and a whole bunch of different things. And one day said to me, "Hey, do you want to come along? I'm going to whatever place it was that she was doing her classes. Do you want to come along?" So I said, "Yeah, sounds good." And I tried it out, and I remember the experience of this group of women together, moving in sync, laughing, sweating. There was such power in that shared physical activity that, again, the kind of control issues maybe, I said, you know what, I have to learn to teach this. I can do that. I want to try to be able to be that leader up there. And I can still see that woman at the front of the room. I thought, I want to be that because I can see and feel the power that physical activity has to unite people. So that kind of began the journey of, still while I was kickboxing, beginning to become certified as a fitness instructor. So that's where the kind of wellness influence began.
And when did that become a professional career?
Um, so when I was finishing, well, so I was traveling in kickboxing, and with jujitsu while I was in university, actually. And so when I was finishing up my university studies, my dad and I were simultaneously running a martial arts studio at the same time as well. So it was a busy time. And I had been almost done my university. I had to take an extra term because I had to take fewer courses some terms with all the travel. And as I was finishing up, I thought, okay, well, I'm retired from fighting almost and finishing up school, and now what? And funny enough, my boyfriend at the time, now husband, was actually moving away. He played professional hockey over in England. So he was moving, and I thought, you know what? I'm sure they need fitness instructors over there. That's something I could travel with. So I decided to get my fitness instructor certification. And right out of university, I began working at a facility. And actually, that was the same facility that I was at up until about a year and a half ago when I started my own business.
What is it that appeals to you? Well, first of all, before we get into that,
Yeah.
I mean, it speaks well of you for what you're doing, as opposed to, I went to school, I got this job. When you decided to take martial arts, it was a
Mhm.
decision for your own wellness, and it
Mhm.
created a wellness that you hadn't anticipated. When you
Mhm.
decided to stop, again, it was knowing who you were and where you were in your life and what your
Mhm.
body was doing that made you decide to, uh, maybe not the most fun decision because you enjoyed what you're doing, but a wellness
Mm.
decision. I need to do this for
Mhm.
my own health. So
Yeah.
obviously, this is something that you actually do, not something you actually teach.
Yeah.
Once you got into that as a career,
Mhm.
what did you like about it?
Mhm. Well, it's interesting. The career path was really fitness, so group fitness classes and personal training. And what I felt was the power behind, I don't mean like the physical power, the power of the joy of people exercising together, of changing their bodies, not in a way like that's weight based or anything like that, but just getting stronger, feeling better, all of those things. There was such power in that. And I remember thinking, this has so much opportunity to impact people, but I can only connect with so many folks. So how can I spread that message? And an opportunity came up that allowed me to begin teaching people to become trainers and personal trainers and group fitness instructors. And that is something that I still do because, again, I just believe in that power of, getting folks out there to spread the message of physical activity. And that then continued on, and I could see how people needed and wanted somebody to help them create a roadmap of for their fitness success. If I want to run a 5K, I need to do XYZ to get there and whatnot. And in the last probably 5 years, I kept thinking, there's got to be a better way. Like personally, my health was suffering again, and there's got to be a way that we can support people more broadly, but kind of the way I was doing in fitness. And that is actually what led me to coaching. And taking then my fitness experience and bringing it along. And initially I didn't really bring it along. It was kind of funny, right? Initially I kind of thought, no, I've done that. I'm going to move on to this. And over the last year, I've realized that the skills I've gained becoming a coach, the all the health and wellness experience of almost 25 years now, all came together at a time that I again was struggling with my own health and wellness because of a number of things that were happening. And I thought there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way to strive for that success that people are after and be able to have that wellness component, because so many folks strive for success, whatever that looks like for them, whether it's, running their own business or, rocking the mom gig or whatever it is. They strive for that success and it is at the expense of their wellness. And I know that's what I was going through myself, even though I had all those tools. So there's kind of irony and lesson in that. And that's what really drove me to pivot to the coaching space and opening my own coaching business to help people do just that, to bring together all of the experiences I've been so blessed to have and create frameworks for people to be able to go for whatever they're after, encourage them to, reach for the stars, and then be that bug in their ear to say, okay, and where's your wellness fit? And how are you sleeping? And what are you eating? And are you taking your water? And are all of those things, right, that are so key for folks.
So you alluded to it briefly, and I know we're not going to go into details, but what made you decide to go into your own business was, again, a self-evaluation to realize that there were stresses going on. And we alluded to it in the opening. There were stresses going on at home. And there were stresses going on at the job. And it was an examination where you looked at it and said, how do I resolve these two things at the same time?
Absolutely. And the further along I go in my journey of life and experience, I encourage people, because I've done it myself, is to have that reevaluation of your relationship with yourself and to say, the things that you're doing now, are they things that you want to be doing? Are they things, even if you're really good at them, are they things that are still good for you? And so, like the example, and I have to give credit to you, Craig, because you helped me connect the dots on a lot of this story. So thank you. Was really at a time when I was looking at, leaving the martial arts because I'm still, good at it. Like a lot of us are so good at things, and it's no longer serving me. And that was where I was sort of in the career. I was trying to, as a lot of, moms, dads, parents do, we're trying to do all the things. So I had a job that was demanding. It was, kind of on call 24/7. Plus I had two kids, helping out with their different sports teams and their off dryland training and all of those things. And then, noticing that my health was beginning to suffer. And it's so interesting that we have whispers of the decisions we should be making or the decisions that we kind of know in the back of our mind, but we're not yet ready because they're scary decisions, right?
Yep.
And we kind of sit there and go, oh, I think, but no, I'm not going to. Oh, I think, but no, I'm not yet ready. And, it's so interesting. It often takes something, it takes a reframe of the situation to make us really realize where we need to go. And when we're in something so much, it's hard to change it. I know with martial arts, that was it. I felt like that was my identity. Like 100%, that's how people know me. That's what I do. That's, I have a tattoo on my ankle. That's the Japanese symbol for jujitsu. And literally it's tattooed on there. How do I make that change? And, when I think back to that time of changing, the thing looking at my tattoo, and I thought, what am I going to do with this? And when I reframed it to look at the Japanese symbol, the kanji, the first one, the ju, talks about the gentle way. It also can be interpreted as the the like flexibility, adaptability. And then the second kanji, the jitsu, is refers to the technique or the art. So literally, I was feeling like that was holding me back because I had put this representation on me. The symbols can be interpreted as the art of adaptability. So I spent 15 years studying the art of adaptability, and I was sitting there going, oh, I better not change because I'm scared. Well, really? So that kind of thing came up again in my career when I was struggling with all of those things. And then it was, and like we have talked about, one of my kids got sick, and the path, scary and awful and all those things, and the path became really clear to say, you know what, I need to move forward with what I know is for me. What I'm doing no longer serves me, and I need to move forward to say, these are the things that I know that are going to be difference makers for folks, are going to be the things that really give me the freedom and the opportunity to support my family in the way that they are going to need, unexpectedly, but the way they're going to need for the next while. So
Well,
again, it was, yeah.
you've said a lot of things there that resonate with me personally. My first job in television was at TSN. I stayed there for 6 years, and because I was a big sports fan, it was my first job in television. I felt
Oh,
it was like part of my identity, but it
yeah,
became clear when it was time to leave,
right.
and it was a really, really, really hard decision.
Mm,
And I wanted to stay there, and there was something there I wanted that I wasn't going to get. But
mm-hmm,
when I left, I went to Discovery Channel, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me. And
right.
quite often, the best things that have happened to me in my life have happened after I didn't get what I wanted, and I had
Yes,
to reevaluate.
yes. Yes, 100%. I was having a conversation with somebody yesterday, and she said, I know what I want. I'm scared to change. I don't want to be, she's approaching a milestone birthday and said, I don't want to get to this next birthday and regret where I am. I know one of the organizations that I'm connected with, the Healthy, Wealthy, Wise coaching program, our founder was doing a webinar last night and talking about, we're here on a 3-day path. Do you want to give hours to things that don't serve you and really empower your mission? Because we all have inside of us such an opportunity to change lives in many different ways with the things that we do. Are we really going to let fear just stand in the way? So it's strategizing about, because then there's the common sense side, like I still have to pay the mortgage, I can't leave this job if I don't, like that. Totally,
Mhm.
absolutely, we need to make sure that we take care of those pieces, but strategizing to move forward, figuring out how we can get moving towards the things that we're looking for, because we all know things are so uncertain. Everybody knows that this year for sure. And what are the things that we can do to move the needle forward towards what we really want? And then that way, we are going to be serving those folks around us in a better way because we are going to be well mentally and physically.
Now, you've talked a lot about the physical
Mm,
wellness. What we're going through now, all of us, this is being recorded in the heat of COVID-19. A
yeah,
lot of what everybody is going through is a challenge to our mental wellness.
absolutely.
How much do you deal with that?
Well, I've been an advocate for um, decades, saying that we need to better better understand mental health, be more open to accepting. If I break my ankle and go to physio, nobody bats an eye. But if I'm struggling with anxiety and go to a therapist, there's still judgment around that. And we've got to get rid of that. Um, we all struggle in our own ways, right? And that's okay. I have been doing lots of different, what I would just call wellness calls, like not an official coaching call, but just chatting a little bit. I have a little bit of mental health training, as well as experience in my own life of supporting those with. So have developed a lot of skills and tools, and it's so interesting. I wonder, why has life kind of put me in the spot that I'm in now, running my own business, starting my own business in COVID, which you you understand that too. It's a big
Yep.
challenge. Yeah, a little
Yeah.
bit. Um, and I just think there's a reason that, I was gifted all of these. Now, I mean, I worked for some things too, of course, but gifted these different skills and abilities to say, well, how can I help? So, talking to a lot of people about self care. So, what are the things that we are doing every day? And self care is not an indulgent, bubble bath and pedicure kind of thing. That might be for some, and that's cool. Additionally, it is a daily habit. It's like brushing your teeth, right? It needs to be something that we do daily. And so I talk to a lot of folks about ways we can care for ourselves. So through movement, exercise, nutrition, hydration, sleep. I've been talking to a lot of folks about sleep and working on, some different resources for people to be able to hopefully improve their sleep. The other things I'm encouraging people to do is plan fun and fun, which I know people go, wait a minute, what? My coach is telling me to plan fun 100%. And if we even look at like cognitive behavior therapy, part of that model talks about increasing pleasurable activities. So it is rooted in therapy that we need to have something to look forward to. I talk to folks about joy triggers. So identifying the things that even when you're feeling really low and you're having a day, which we've had lots of, what are the things that you can do? Like I know for me is music and movement and other folks share things like time with family or time with a pet or going outside. Whatever the things are really that can be can kind of help you just sort of lighten how you're feeling a little bit.
I
Yeah.
know when my son, I won't go into much detail, but my son had brain surgery. He was missing
Mm-hmm.
this part of his skull for about 9 months. And a friend of mine asked him how he did it. He said, well, I spend a lot of time in the things I like, and I just go through the things I don't like. He said, I just
Mm-hmm.
find the things that make me happy and I do them. He said, just be happy. It was such a great piece of wisdom. So,
The student becomes the teacher, right? 100%.
there was a lot to
Yeah.
learn from him.
Yeah.
So, when
Yeah.
you and I talked in the pre-interview,
Mm-hmm.
I talked about, as many of us, putting on a few pandemic pounds, and you said, well, just don't beat yourself up for that
Yeah.
donut. You have to find ways to enjoy yourself
Yeah.
during this too.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think it's really important to find a balance. And this is a message I often will share with people that, we can be, and I'll often say, we can be this and that. And what I mean by that is, at a time that when I was kickboxing, I felt like I had to be the big sister to the people on the team. I had to be the strong one. I had to be I don't know if there was like a conflict I had in my group of friends in terms of, if you're out for a drink, I had to be the one that, and that never came to fruition because, I could talk myself out of many things, but, and then I had this other side of things that I was working with a women's organization, empowering people to, go for it and be well. And for a long time, I felt like I had to sit in one of those spaces. And, if I was this, I couldn't be that. But, we can be more than one thing all at the same time. And so the way that really ties to what's going on now for me is that, I encourage folks some days, yeah, they're going to be hard days. It's okay. Give yourself permission to, if you need to sit and spend an afternoon watching Netflix and, having that donut and coffee, well, go for it. It's important that we recognize if that becomes a pattern because so I encourage people to be kind to yourself. At the same time, I want you to figure out what's going to move the needle forward. I wouldn't be a responsible coach if I didn't push back a little bit and say, really, is that the best use of your time to Netflix and eat donuts 7 days a week? It's absolutely not. Because when we come through all of this, where do we want to be? Are the things you're doing right now things that will best serve you to feel well to be successful tomorrow? So, yes, give yourself a break. And if it's going on day after day after day, I encourage you to reach out to chat with somebody about maybe getting some mental health help, which is what we were just talking about. And then additionally, figure out how can we move the needle forward. I know one of the things at the beginning of all of this with supporting the family was that, I was saying to my coach that I'm having such a hard time in this time of uncertainty. And one moment I'm trying to work and then, and I think so many people are relating to this, right? Especially if you have younger kids, mine are teenagers, but if you've got a kid that runs in and they need this and that and the other, it's so hard to create times of uncertainty. And so, times of certainty in these really uncertain times. So I encourage people to say, lay out your day. Like I'm a big sort of list maker, calendar user. Lay out that day. What does it look like? find pockets of certainty. So for me, I know I get up earlier because that allows me to the time to be able to get some of the things done that are going to move the needle forward. And it also allows me the opportunity to make sure I can fit in some of those self-care activities as well. So try to create pockets of certainty best you can in these really uncertain times. And those days that turn to be a train wreck, it's okay. It happens.
Well, Deanna, thank you so much for telling us about your personal journey that started with fights and ended up with health. People can reach you. We've put up your information throughout the program. People can reach out to you for both personal programs and corporate programs right now to help people get through these times.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Once we're through this, it won't be just keeping your head above water. It'll be pushing further ahead towards shore.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I encourage people to try to look at that, keeping your head, not just keeping your head above water, but pushing towards shore now. Don't wait till it's over, because we don't know when it's over. Go for it now.
All right, Deanna, thank you so much. Really appreciate you sharing your journey and telling us how you've managed to get through all of the things in your life. And that's it for the Business Heroes. We'll talk to you all later. The Business Heroes wants to hear your story. Contact me at craig@colbyvision.net. I guarantee your story will sound epic with this cool music underneath it. Colby Vision can help you find and share your story. Writing, video, we do it all. We can also show you how to do your own simple videos and teach you how to do interviews for a podcast. Thanks to Dave White for the editing, Tim Vesely for the music, and Kevin Francisco for the graphics. And thanks for watching The Business Heroes. We'll see you next time for another exciting adventure.